The sky above Earth was calm. People went to work, children went to school, and news channels spoke about politics, sports, and weather. But above that calm blue sky, something massive moved in silence. An alien ship, black and long like a shadow, entered Earth's orbit. It did not fire any weapons. It did not send any warnings. It simply appeared. In every military base on Earth, alarms screamed. Radar systems locked on the ship. Fighter jets flew into the sky. Everyone waited for orders. The ship stayed still. Then it sent one message in a clear human voice. "We once saved you. Do you remember?" That single sentence caused panic around the world. Presidents and generals looked at each other in confusion. What did it mean? Who were these aliens? And what did they mean by, "We once saved you"? In a quiet lab far from the cities, an old scientist named Dr. Elias Ward sat alone, watching the message replay on his screen. His hands trembled. He knew that voice. Not the exact words, but the feeling behind them. His father had told him. Stories. Hidden stories. Ones he was told never to share. He reached into a locked drawer and pulled out an old notebook. Dust covered the cover. On the first page was a word written in shaky handwriting. Virine. No one else remembered that name, but Elias did. 300 years ago, before Earth built its cities in the stars, before they had powerful ships or even deep space travel, a colony ship called Hopebringer left Earth to find a new home. Something went wrong. The engines failed. Food ran out and a strange sickness began killing the crew. That ship should have been lost in space, but it wasn't. A race called the Virine found the Hopebringer. They were small, quiet creatures with gray skin and large eyes. They had no armies, no weapons, just kindness. They gave medicine, shared food, and repaired the engines. Then they left, asking for nothing in return. Only a few people knew about it. The event was buried by world governments. Some feared panic. Others wanted to keep the Virine secret. Over time, the story became legend, then forgotten. Now, they were back. Elias tried to warn the Global Council, but no one listened. That story is fiction, they told him. Old myths from a dying mind. But the alien ship didn't go away. It hovered, silent, for hours. Then it moved again, not to attack, but to send another message. This time, a face appeared. It was old and tired. The Virine captain looked directly into the camera. "You were weak once. We helped you. Now you are strong and we are afraid. Please do not make us regret our kindness." In the Global Council chambers, silence filled the room. Earth's leaders whispered. Was this a threat, a warning, or something else? Admiral Jennings, leader of Earth's defense fleet, didn't wait for answers. He ordered 3 warships into space to surround the alien ship. The order was simple. Do not fire unless fired upon, but don't trust them. The warships reached the Virine vessel and locked weapons. Still, the Virine didn't respond. Their ship made no move to escape. The captain sent one last message. "We came in peace. We came to remember. But if you choose fear, we will leave and never return. We will erase the memory of what we gave you. You will be alone again." At that moment, something strange happened. A low-energy pulse came from the alien ship. Not a weapon, not an attack, but a memory signal. Every human on Earth with neural implants, soldiers, doctors, pilots, saw a flash in their minds. They saw the Hopebringer breaking apart. They saw the Virine helping the dying humans. They saw gentle hands offering food, light, and life. They felt the fear, the kindness, and the hope. Some cried, some screamed, some collapsed. Dr. Elias sat still in his lab, eyes wide open. "They didn't just save us," he whispered. "They saved our future." But Earth had changed. It was not weak anymore. It had weapons, ships, armies, and fear. Fear of being controlled. Fear of weakness. Back in space, Admiral Jennings ordered the alien ship to power down and surrender for questioning. The Virine refused. "We do not wish to fight," the captain said, "but we will not kneel to what you have become." That was enough. Jennings ordered an EMP pulse to disable their ship. The blast hit, but instead of falling, the Vereen ship glowed. A shield absorbed the attack. A silent wave pushed the human warships back without damage, but with a message. We once gave, now we ask nothing. Remember us or forget us, and just like that the alien ship vanished. No engines. No light. No trace. On Earth, people demanded answers. Who were they? Why did they come? Why did they leave? The Global Council said little. An unknown alien ship visited Earth. No threat detected. No action needed. But Elias knew better. In the quiet corners of the web, stories spread. Videos of the message leaked. Soldiers began to speak. Some remembered dreams. Some remembered the pain. All remembered one thing. Someone helped us long ago, and we forgot them. Now they had returned. Not with weapons, but with memories. And humanity, instead of thanking them, pointed guns at them. A small group of explorers began searching for the Vereen. Secret teams looked into old star maps. They wanted to find them, to ask why they helped, and maybe to ask for help again. But others had different ideas. A rising power within Earth's military said, if they had this power all along, why didn't they use it? What else are they hiding? What if they're watching us, waiting to strike? Fear began to grow. And with fear came action. A new fleet was built, faster, stronger, armed with weapons designed to counter Vereen tech. Earth called it Project Dawn. Dr. Elias tried to stop it. He sent messages, spoke at councils, begged leaders. They helped us when we were nothing. We owe them peace, not war. But few listened. Most had already forgotten again. In deep space, the Vereen captain sat alone on a quiet world, watching Earth from afar. A young Vereen asked, will they come after us? The captain shook her head. No, not yet. But the moment will come when they must choose who they are. When that day comes, we will remember, even if they forget. Back on Earth, a young pilot trained in simulators. His instructors told him the mission. Find the Vereen and, if necessary, stop them. But he remembered the vision he saw during the memory pulse. A soft hand touching a child's face. A Vereen giving water to a dying man. He whispered to himself. They didn't look like enemies. He didn't know it yet, but he would be the one to meet them again. And when that day came, the galaxy would remember what humanity had become, and whether they deserved to be helped at all. Because one truth remained. Humanity never forgets a favor. But this time, the galaxy hoped they would. The stars above. Earth had not changed, but the way humans looked at them had. Ever since the Vereen ship appeared and then vanished, something shifted in people's minds. Some began asking questions. Others started watching the sky with a new kind of fear. Not the fear of invasion, but the fear of being judged by those who once showed them kindness. The leaders of Earth met in private. They reviewed every signal, every image, and every word from the alien ship. The Vereen had come in peace, but Earth's response was filled with doubt. Still, no action had been taken. No harm had been done. But deep in the hidden rooms of Earth's command center, new plans were already forming. In one of those rooms, a tall figure stood at the end of a long table. He was Commander Reeves, head of Earth's Advanced Exploration Force. His voice was calm, but sharp. He looked at the others and said, they gave us knowledge that changed everything. And now they return, asking for nothing. That alone should worry us. Another officer shook his head. They didn't threaten us. That's the problem, Reeves said. They didn't need to. They've already shaped our future, and they still have power we don't understand. While leaders debated far from Earth in the outer rim of colonized space, a small science vessel named Odyssey was on a mission. On board were 5 crew members sent to search for anything that might lead to the Vereen. They had no weapons, only scanners and data probes. Their goal was simple: find answers. Captain Mira Lang led the mission. She believed in knowledge over fear. She believed that not everything unknown was dangerous. As the Odyssey traveled through silent space, Mira often sat at the viewing window, staring at the stars, thinking about what the Vereen captain had said. "We once saved you. Do not make us regret our kindness." Her crew scanned ancient satellite paths, broken communication trails, and even looked into old colony records. For weeks they found nothing. Then a strange signal appeared from a dead zone, an area once thought to be empty. It was a repeating pulse. Slow, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. They followed it. As the Odyssey moved closer, their systems began to act strangely. Lights flickered. Screens froze for a second, but it wasn't dangerous, just different. Then a structure appeared. A small, moon-sized station hidden in the shadow of a cold planet. It looked abandoned, but the signal was coming from inside. The crew debated going in. Mira decided they would. Inside, the station was dark, but not broken. Lights turned on slowly as they entered. The air was clean. Walls were covered in strange symbols, soft blue lights and humming sounds that felt like they were part of the station itself. Then, a voice spoke. Not out loud, but inside their minds. "You seek the ones who once gave." "Why?" Mira looked at her team. "We want to understand," she said softly. The voice responded, "Do you want to understand us, or yourselves?" Suddenly, the walls came to life with moving images. Not holograms, but memories. Scenes played like dreams around them. They saw the moment when the Hopebringer was rescued. They saw the Vereen share their food, heal the sick, and fix broken systems. They also saw something else. One of the Hopebringer officers, after being saved, secretly recorded Vereen technology. He sent it back to Earth in a hidden transmission. That stolen data became the foundation of Earth's jump drive tech. The truth hit the crew hard. Humanity's rise wasn't just fast. It was built on a gift that became a secret. Back in Earth's capital, news of the Odyssey's discovery reached the Council. Commander Reeves listened quietly, then ordered a ship to retrieve the crew. "They've seen something," he said. "We need to know what." But Mira didn't return. She sent one final message to Earth. Her voice was clear but filled with emotion. "They didn't come here to scare us. They came to remind us of who we were before power made us forget. If we lose that memory, we lose everything." Then the signal ended. The station disappeared, just like the Vereen ship. On Earth, the message was split. Some called Mira a hero, others called her a fool. But people began talking, people began remembering. A quiet change started. Students in schools asked their teachers who the Vereen were. Artists painted scenes of the Hopebringer. Musicians wrote songs about forgotten kindness. And somewhere, in the quiet parts of space, the Vereen watched. Waiting. They had not come with force. They had not asked for control. They came only to remind humanity of something simple, something easy to forget. Those who helped us in the dark deserve more than silence when the light comes. And now, with the stars watching, humanity would have to decide whether their future would be built on memory or on fear. The cold silence of deep space wrapped around a hidden fleet like a blanket no light could pierce. Dozens of ships floated in formation near a brown dwarf star, far beyond the range of any civilian sensors. These were not warships, nor were they part of any official exploration mission. They were part of something new, something the world had not been told about. A project born from both fear and secrecy. They called it Silent Horizon. The mission's leader, Director Alric Vance, stood alone in a secure observation room, staring at a hologram of the galaxy. His eyes didn't blink often. He didn't speak unless he had to. To most, he was quiet, methodical. But deep inside, Alric was racing against time. He believed that the appearance of the Vereen was not just a visit. It was a warning. To him, the message the Vereen sent had hidden meaning. Do not make us regret our kindness. To Alric, that sounded like a quiet threat. A polite reminder that the Vereen still watched, still remembered, and possibly still judged. He didn't trust that. So Silent Horizon was created. A network of stealth ships, artificial intelligence programs, and deep space listening posts. Their goal? Track every strange signal, scan every unknown energy source, and follow anything that might lead to the Virine. But finding the Virine wasn't easy. They didn't leave trails. They didn't stay in one place. They moved like thoughts, fast, unpredictable, and invisible. Until one day they made a mistake. A surveillance drone near the edge of an uninhabited system caught a flicker, just a flicker, of an object passing through a dust field. It moved in a way no human-made ship ever had. No engine flare, no sound, no signature. But it existed, if only for a moment. Alric ordered everything redirected toward that location. He assigned his most advanced vessel, the Eclipse, to follow the trail. On board was a crew trained not in diplomacy but in observation. Their task: locate, study, and report. Not to engage, not to communicate, just to watch. The Eclipse moved quickly, using silent drives and advanced sensors. After days of searching, they found something. Not a ship, but a station. Ancient, quiet, and orbiting a collapsed star. It didn't broadcast any signal. It didn't respond to hails. But it looked alive. Captain Delara Wynn led the mission aboard the Eclipse. She was a calm and thoughtful leader, known for her ability to read situations beyond the surface. She ordered a slow approach. As they got closer, strange patterns began forming on the station's surface, shapes and symbols that rearranged themselves like a living language. Then, without warning, the ship's systems blinked. Not shut down, just paused. For less than a second, everything went black. When power returned, there was a message on every screen, written in a language no one had ever seen before. Yet somehow everyone understood it. Memory is not a gift. It is a choice. What you remember shapes what you become. The crew stared at the message in silence. Some felt uneasy. Others felt wonder. But all of them knew one thing. This was not a human message. Captain Wynn made a decision. She would go inside. The landing team entered the station through a circular gateway. As they stepped in, gravity shifted slightly, air filled their lungs, and soft lights guided them forward. The structure was quiet, not abandoned but resting, like it had waited a very long time. In the center of the station was a chamber with walls like mirrors. But the reflections didn't match reality. They showed different people, different times. Moments from the past, memories long buried. One crew member saw herself as a child, crying during a power outage. Another saw a moment from the academy, when he failed a test and never told anyone. But these memories weren't just personal. They were tied to emotions, to choices. It felt like the station was studying them through their memories. Then the central mirror lit up. A figure appeared. Not a Virine, but something else, a construct perhaps. A guardian. It spoke not with sound, but with feeling. Thoughts flowed directly into the minds of the team. It showed images of the Hope-Bringer, of the first meeting between humanity and the Virine. It showed the rescue, the gift of knowledge, and then the forgetting. But it also showed something new. A warning. A glimpse of a future where humanity, in its pursuit of power, begins to erase the very kindness that shaped it. A future where old favors are turned into secrets, where help becomes fear, and where peace is replaced with silence. The Guardian spoke again. You are not being watched to be judged. You are being remembered to be understood. The question is not whether we regret our kindness. The question is whether you still understand why it was given. Captain Wynn felt the weight of those words. The Virine had not come back to threaten. They had come back to see if the memory of that old kindness still lived in the hearts of a new generation. She asked one question aloud. Why now? The answer was quiet, yet powerful. Because the stars are listening, and you are no longer alone. Back on Earth, Director Alric Vance received the report. He read every word carefully. He watched the recordings from the eclipse. He saw the message in the mirrored chamber. But instead of feeling awe, he felt concern. They're watching us, he whispered. Still, he didn't share the message with the public. Instead, he placed the entire mission under lock and silence. No one outside Silent Horizon would know. The people didn't need to remember, he believed. They needed to stay focused, stay alert. But not everyone agreed. Within the Eclipse crew, something had changed. They had seen the past. They had touched it. They had felt what it meant to be helped, to be remembered. And they couldn't forget. One of the younger crew members began sending out quiet messages. Encrypted, anonymous, spread across civilian networks. He shared pieces of what they saw. Words from the station. Thoughts from the Guardian. The messages began to spread. People started asking questions again. The name Vereen became a whisper of wonder across online boards and in school discussions. Artists painted new works. Writers told new stories. And once again, Earth stood at a crossroad. Would they follow the path of silence and fear, or memory and understanding? Because the stars had not changed, but the watchers among them waited for the answer. The night sky over Earth was clearer than it had been in decades. City lights dimmed in many places as people turned their eyes upward, drawn by an unspoken curiosity. Something was stirring, not just in the heavens but in the hearts of millions. The whispers about the Vereen, about kindness, memory, and the silent watchers, had reached far beyond secret corridors and encrypted channels. Now, ordinary people wondered what it all meant for their future. Amara was one of those people. A young historian who worked quietly in a small archive, she spent her days surrounded by old texts, records, and relics of humanity's past. She wasn't a soldier or a politician. She wasn't part of any secret project. But the discovery of the ancient station, the messages from the Eclipse crew, and the stories of the Hope-bringer had pulled her into a larger story, one that felt bigger than anything she had ever imagined. Late one evening, as she pored over faded documents, a new message flickered onto her screen. It was anonymous, but the words felt familiar. Memory is a choice. What will you choose to remember? Amara's heart quickened. She had seen similar words before, on the Eclipse, in that chamber of mirrors where the past and future seemed to blend. She realized this was not just a message for her, but for everyone, for the whole of humanity. Her research led her to an old archive deep beneath the city, a forgotten place where ancient knowledge was kept safe from time. There she found records of the Hope-bringer, stories of the rescue, and accounts of the Vereen's first contact with Earth. But what surprised her most were the hidden annotations, notes made by unknown hands, warnings about forgetting, about losing the favor that had once been freely given. Amara understood something crucial. History was not just about what happened. It was about what people chose to keep alive in their minds and hearts. The Vereen had given humanity a chance, a gift that could have changed everything. But with time, that gift had become a secret, a silent debt, forgotten by many. As she worked, the world outside was changing too. Rumors spread of other stations like the one the Eclipse found, ancient outposts scattered across the galaxy, each holding pieces of a story long hidden. Some said the Vereen had left clues, a network designed to test if humanity was ready to remember and honor the kindness once shown. Amara was not alone in her quest. Across the globe, small groups formed, people who wanted to bring these stories into the light. Scientists, artists, teachers, and everyday citizens united in their desire to reconnect with a past that had been buried under years of doubt and fear. One night, Amara received an encrypted invitation to join a gathering, a secret meeting of those who believed the Vereen's message was more than just history. They called themselves the Keepers of Memory. In a hidden chamber lit by soft blue light, Amara met others who shared her passion. Together they planned how to spread the truth without causing panic. Their goal was simple yet powerful, to remind humanity of the favor it had once received and the responsibility that came with it. They believed that remembering kindness would change the way people saw each other and the galaxy. But not everyone welcomed this movement. Powerful forces in the shadows feared the change it could bring. They spread doubts, calling the keepers reckless, accusing them of stirring old fears. Some tried to silence the message by controlling the flow of information. Others dismissed it as a distraction from real problems. Despite the resistance, the movement grew. Schools began teaching about the Virine and the Hopebringer. Museums displayed artifacts and stories. Art exhibits celebrated the idea that memory could be a bridge between worlds. Meanwhile, in the vastness of space, the Virine watched patiently. They did not intervene directly. They waited to see if humanity would choose memory over fear, kindness over silence. Amara often wondered what the Virine thought of her people. Did they see a species ready to honor the gift, or one that would let it fade away? The answer was still unclear. One evening, while looking at the stars, Amara felt a quiet presence, as if the galaxy itself was listening. She whispered softly, "We remember. We will not forget." Far beyond the reaches of Earth, in the shadow of distant suns, something stirred. A small signal pulsed gently through the darkness, a sign that the watchers had heard. The journey was far from over. And as humanity stood on the edge of a new chapter, the choice remained theirs, to carry the past forward with pride or to let it slip away into silence. The stars waited. The galaxy watched, and humanity held its breath. The quiet hum of the command center was filled with a tension that no one could quite name. Months had passed since the Keepers of Memory began their work, spreading the stories of the Virine's kindness and the forgotten rescue. Across the world, people talked, learned, and wondered. Yet beneath the growing hope, something else stirred, a feeling of uncertainty, of change coming faster than anyone expected. Captain Delara Wynn stood by the large viewing window, watching. The endless stars stretch into darkness. The eclipse was no longer just a ship of exploration. It had become a symbol of discovery, of trust, and now of responsibility. Delara felt the weight of that responsibility heavier than ever. The messages from the Virine station echoed in her mind, especially the Guardian's words. What you remember shapes what you become. What would humanity become? Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a faint energy signature. It was unlike anything before. Soft, rhythmic, almost like a pulse of life. It came from a distant nebula, a region filled with swirling clouds of gas and light. The signal was steady but cryptic. It seemed to call out, not with words but with feeling. Delara called her senior officers. This could be important. Prepare to investigate. I want a full scan and data analysis. As the eclipse moved closer, the crew noticed something strange. The nebula itself seemed to respond. Colors shifted and danced in patterns that almost looked like communication. For days they observed, recorded, and tried to understand. The nebula was alive in a way no one had ever seen. Inside the ship, tension grew. The unknown always brought questions. Could this be another message from the Virine? Or something new, something that humanity had never encountered? Dr. Elias Renner, the ship's lead scientist, approached Delara. Captain, this phenomenon might be a form of intelligence, but it's unlike anything we know. The patterns are complex, but they suggest awareness. It's as if the nebula itself is trying to speak. Delara nodded slowly. We need to listen and understand. The crew worked tirelessly. Slowly, they began to decode parts of the nebula's signal. It told stories of stars being born and dying, of cosmic cycles older than humanity itself. It spoke of balance and harmony, of how everything in the galaxy was connected by unseen threads. The nebula's message was clear. Life was fragile, and kindness was a rare gift that could shift the course of the universe. For Delara and her crew, the discovery was both awe-inspiring and humbling. They realized that the Virine's gift to humanity was part of a much larger story, one that stretched across time and space, involving forces beyond their understanding. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the Keepers of Memory were faced with a new challenge. As more people learned about the Virine and the Hopebringer, old fears and old prejudices began to surface. Not everyone wanted to remember kindness. Some saw the alien gift as a threat to human independence. Others feared that relying on outside help would make humanity weak. Amara found herself at the center of a growing debate. She spoke passionately about the importance of memory and gratitude. We must remember who helped us, not to be controlled by the past, but to guide our future. Kindness is a strength, not a weakness. Her words inspired many but also made powerful enemies. Some leaders whispered that the keepers were stirring unrest. They warned that too much talk of alien kindness could lead to division and fear. The tension grew, and the world seemed poised at another crossroads. On the eclipse, Delara received an unexpected transmission. It was a message from the Virine themselves, a direct communication for the first time in decades. The message was simple, yet filled with meaning. You have listened to the stars. You have begun to understand. The next step is yours. Will you choose to honor the gift, or will you let it slip away? The galaxy watches, and your path is your own. Delara shared the message with her crew. The room fell silent. The weight of choice pressed down on everyone. Outside, the nebula pulsed gently, a reminder that the universe was alive and watching. The stars were more than distant lights. They were part of a vast, interconnected story, and humanity stood at the center, ready to write the next chapter. Would they remember the kindness that saved them once? Would they carry it forward with pride and wisdom? Or would they turn away, lost in fear and silence? The answer would shape not just Earth's future, but the future of the entire galaxy. The stars waited. The watchers listened, and humanity took a deep breath, ready to decide its fate. The day dawned quietly, but beneath the calm surface, a storm of decisions churned. Across Earth, people gathered in homes, parks, and virtual spaces, their conversations filled with hope, fear, and endless questions. The messages from the Virine had spread far and wide, igniting a fire in hearts and minds alike. This was no longer just a story of the past, it was a call to action, a challenge to humanity's very nature. Captain Delara Wynn stood on the bridge of the eclipse, looking out at the galaxy that stretched endlessly beyond the viewport. The stars no longer seemed distant and cold. They were alive, full of possibility and promise. But with that promise came responsibility, a heavy, sometimes frightening weight. The Virine's message echoed once more in her mind. The next step is yours. What step would humanity take? Back on Earth, Amara and the Keepers of Memory had become leaders in a movement that was growing faster than anyone expected. Their message was clear. Remembering kindness was not just about gratitude. It was about shaping a future where cooperation, understanding, and hope could flourish. But change was never easy. Some governments hesitated, caught between fear of the unknown and hope for something greater. Others pushed forward, opening new channels of communication, building alliances, and preparing to share humanity's story with the galaxy. In the heart of the movement, Amara received a strange and unexpected visitor, an emissary from the Virine, appearing not as a person but as a shimmering figure of light and color. It spoke without words, sending feelings of peace and curiosity directly into her mind. "We have watched," the emissary said. "You have chosen to remember. Now, it is time to step beyond memory and into action." Amara felt both awe and determination. She understood that the Virine were not just watchers or distant saviors. They were partners in a journey that had only just begun. On the eclipse, Delara prepared the ship for a new mission. This time, it was not just about observing or understanding. It was about reaching out, extending a hand of friendship and cooperation to the galaxy that had once saved humanity. The crew worked with quiet excitement. They designed messages of peace, stories, of Earth's history and hopes, and offers to share knowledge and culture. They wanted to show that humanity was ready to join the greater cosmic community, not as a frightened child, but as a proud, capable partner. As the eclipse moved toward the distant edge of known space, a new feeling spread among the crew. A sense of purpose deeper than any mission before. But not all were ready to welcome this change. Some groups feared that opening to the galaxy would make Earth vulnerable. They argued for isolation, for focusing inward rather than outward. Their voices were loud, but they could not silence the growing hope. In quiet moments, Delara thought about the stories she had heard, the ancient rescue, the silent watchers, the guardian in the station of mirrors. She knew that the galaxy was watching not just to judge, but to understand. And now, humanity was ready to understand back. The eclipse reached the meeting point, a vast shimmering nebula where the first contact with the Vereen had taken place years before. The ship sent out its carefully crafted message, a beacon of peace and friendship, hope and curiosity. For long minutes there was only silence. Then slowly, a reply came. Not words, but feelings. A warm pulse of light and energy that spread through the ship like a gentle wave. It was acceptance. A new chapter had begun. Back on Earth, Amara watched the skies with tears in her eyes. The galaxy had heard humanity's voice. The past kindness was honored, not forgotten. The future was no longer uncertain. It was filled with endless possibilities. The stars shone brighter that night as if celebrating the choice humanity had made. And far beyond the reaches of Earth, the watchers smiled quietly, knowing that the favor once given had blossomed into something greater than anyone had dared to hope. Humanity had remembered, humanity had chosen, and the galaxy welcomed them home.